Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Adobe Live. I'm super excited to be here. How's everybody in the chat? My name is Voodoo Val, and I am going to be your host this morning for an epic character design segment. And I'm very excited to be joined by kind of my new best friend. Like we're like this now. This is Chioma. Chioma, how are you this morning?
Hey, bestie. I'm really good. This is actually my first live stream ever, so I'm like super excited.
I'm pretty pumped about it too. You guys can't see, I've got the magic wizard vision behind the scenes here, and I know what's coming up. But I'm really excited for her to kind of get into what she's got planned for today and tomorrow and how that's all going to work. But first, what I'd like to do before we kind of dive into the work for today is remind all you folks over on YouTube, if you are chilling over there, and you're wondering where we are going to be talking to people and all that good stuff, or you've asked some questions and you haven't received any answers, please come over to behance.net/live. That is where we're going to be reading the chat. That is where General Kenobi is. General Kenobi, hello there. It's good to see you, sir. Mahak is here. Umacorn is here. Robert, Creative Christie, Wade Acuff in the house, the one and only Motive Void. It is so good to see all of you folks. But yeah, come on over to Behance, make some friends, chill out, get some cool resources, and have a good time. And I think that's the last thing. And now we can get into illustration magic, shall we? Shall we talk about what we got planned today?
Yes. So I guess I'll just kind of give you guys like the quick little rundown. Mm-hmm. So I've kind of like been like a big strings player all my life. I've been playing the cello. Anybody who plays the cello out there, hello.
Cellos make me cry in a good way, by the way.
Yes, they are the best.
They're amazing.
Yes, but so yeah, I'm going to show you guys some character designs of my 3 music teachers. They have been very big staples in my life, and they're 3 very quirky men with very funny personalities. So I thought I'd just do some designs for y'all.
Do you have, you said you've been playing strings. Is it only cello, or do you kind of dabble in other things?
I also dabble in the viola. I actually recently just acquired my best friend's viola because she doesn't play it anymore.
Oh,
so bonus that's awesome. Me.
Yeah, I was telling you off stream, and I think I've said this on stream before. I was in marching band for a lot of years. So I was trying to be drum major. I was like super into it. And I started with the alto saxophone. And there's a lot of instruments that you can kind of transition to when you play an instrument, because there's instruments that are a little bit similar. And for me, that was flute and piccolo, because it's the same, the same kind of finger positions and all that good stuff. So that's why I asked if you dabble in other things, because I imagine you could probably transition to some cool stuff. But who's this handsome fellow we're working on? Tell us about him.
So this right here, y'all, is Ken. I'm going to use their first names because I'm an adult now and I can do that.
Okay.
But yeah, so this is Ken. He was my middle school teacher, actually. So he was like the first one to teach me everything that I know. And he's basically like the epitome of like a Southern dad. He's super sweet. Always would give us those, you know what, kids, back in my day, he was one of those dads. But he's super great. And he was really funny, definitely a family man. He always talks about his wife, how much he loved his kids. So he had a very distinct silhouette. He was very, he looked like a friendly man, as you would say. But so yeah, I'm trying to break him up into a few little shapes. So whenever I do character designs, I typically like to simplify people into shapes that I feel like would fit their personality. So typically with friendlier people, I try to go for more round shapes, a lot of circles. And that's where a lot of like the shape language and a lot of my character designs come from, is within personality.
This
So
is a really super unique kind of technique here that you're doing. I don't know that I've seen somebody use points quite like this, and let me know if you folks in chat agree. This is really cool, and it's probably the quickest I've ever seen someone start blocking in shapes like this. So you're using the pen tool, I assume.
yes.
So you've kind of clicked in there and made like a polygon kind of shape, and then you just started and dragging those points into the organic shape of a man, basically.
Yes. So my process is like really weird, y'all. I actually acquired this like 2 or 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of people know this, but I actually have a really shaky hand. So it's like hard for me to do like perfect line work, which is
Okay.
why I always typically go for like the half line work style that, you guys see on my work. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I typically just like to block in like all of the organic shapes of like the silhouette. And then I go back in with like a ton of clipping masks and I will color on top of that. And it works. And that's usually how I get my very clean line look. I'm also a perfectionist. So I hate when colors like bleed over my lines. And that was like a
Mm-hmm.
problem that I was having. So I
Clipping
said,
masks are
let
one of the
me,
best things that happen to me too, because I'm exactly that way. I love using
right?
clipping masks, and I hate it when there's like a little bit of overlap, and I'm like, what are you doing? You don't belong there. Get back into
Exactly.
the lines.
So yeah, I'm definitely a very color inside the lines person. So that's how I kind of found this method. And it really helps me because it's like super, super quick, super effective.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and I can get that clean look without having to put in too much effort. So we
Yeah, I'm
got the
loving it.
base colors down for his skin. So now I'm going to go into his clothes. And he always would wear like these very like tight collared like button ups all the time, or just like a white t-shirt, very daddish fashion.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm going to do for him now.
I can picture it. I think I know exactly the style you're talking about.
You know,
And you know what? It's kind of iconic though, right? Like in a way, because I've met a few people that have that. Maybe it's like a a style that translates from the time,
Mhm.
maybe. But I've met a couple of folks that dress like that, and it is very iconic to me, and it kind of says, for me, it kind of says the same thing that you're going for here. It's just like very friendly, trustworthy dad, and
Yeah,
jovial, good vibes kind of thing. So this is
yeah.
cool.
He was a very much like a church, church family man. So I was like, let me
Hmm.
just go ahead and capture that. But yeah, so back to my process. Um,
Yes.
Usually whenever I know that I'm going in an area that's going to have a lot of shading, I will just like try to differentiate the values. So I won't need line work so you can tell different sections. It's kind of hard to explain, but let me show it. So let's say for right here, we have this lighter shade of cream. So I'm going to go in with a darker shade,
Hmm.
um, just to kind of separate the layers a little bit. And a lot of y'all be asking me how I choose my color palettes.
Hmm.
Honestly, I do not know. Most of the time, I just try to go for like warm colors. And like my color picking process is also pretty crazy sometimes. So I really just try to go with the flow. But I might work. But
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, I think now, I think after like watching so many Adobe live streams, I think I have a technique for choosing colors now. That technique, and sometimes it's just very sporadic, because like, I mean, I'm sure you have felt this before, where you sit down and you're illustrating and you're looking through colors, or maybe you start with a color in mind that you have to use, and then you kind of just choose colors that go with that, really.
hmm
Or that something is supposed to be a particular color, so you kind of choose something similar and noodle around until you find one you like, and then the rest kind of just follow.
yeah.
um, it's something I wish that I were more organized about, because then, like you say, people ask you like, how do you choose your colors, and I'm like, I don't know. I found them. And yeah, but you can actually check out Adobe Color. I don't know if you've ever been to Adobe Color, but that is
I have
a
not.
great place. You can actually choose a color. and you can find like colors that go really well with it. And you can also, if you find, one of the ways that I have found is really good to choose colors is if you find an image that you really love, you can actually upload it and it will give you a color palette that it's sampled from that image. So if you have a mood you're going for and you find an image that gives like that kind of vibe you want, you can just sample the colors, and it'll put it in your library, and then it's just there on the left or right hand side of your screen waiting for you to kind of click in it and use the colors. So
Nice.
thanks, Wade, for dropping that link in there. Yeah, that's for anybody that wants to check it out. Also, it looks like Chioma's work is also in the chat, the website and the Instagram. So please check that out. Please, please, please. You really won't regret it. It's work that I could just like stare at all day, and I feel like you guys will agree and feel the same way. So check it out. Biola says she is fascinated by how efficient you are with this pen tool. I'm also blown away, Biola.
Thank you. Now, let me tell y'all, when I first started using Photoshop, because I'm 22 now, so I started first using it when I was 18. And I would just use the regular, like, general Kyle Webster brush set. I don't know how people use that brush set. It is impossible for me. I only use it when I'm trying to erase stuff, but it just, it was a lot harder for me to do that. So when I started using the pen tool in the Illustrator at first, I was like, okay, this is a lot easier for me to like get in those like solid colors without having to have, bleeding issues. But then I was like, Illustrator is kind of, it's not really doing it for me, just because like the mechanics were so hard to get used to. So I went back to Photoshop, and then I found out that the pen tool is a lot more like easy to the touch. So I started using this one and it was a lot better. So
yeah, this is just really cool. I think it's funny to me though, because I feel like I encounter a lot of people who say the hardest thing for them to use in Photoshop is the pen tool, and then you have this experience where it just really clicks with you. And honestly, I think that watching you use it here today will really help me and probably other folks in the chat to use it differently in the past, because I think that because when I use the pen tool, I'm placing points and all that. I'm not really thinking of it as something that is round and soft and organic. I feel like I'm using something mechanical, and now I've seen you do this, and I feel like I could probably attempt it again and get more of a result that I want. So this is cool. Yeah, Devon says, very cool. I agree.
Thank you.
Renetta says, very beautiful work. Corey says, great work. Everyone's pretty pumped about all of your projects. General Kenobi says, the colors choose me. I don't know if you're a Star Wars person, but General Kenobi is in character as Obi-Wan Kenobi in the chat right now. And he always is, and it warms my heart.
Like that. But the curved pen tool will honestly be your best friend. Because when I first started using this, I was like, this is too much, because you would have to like put the points, and then it was just a lot. But the curved pen tool for me is the easiest, just because a lot of my work is like very flowy. So I felt like this was like the nicest alternative. And yeah, now I can't really work any other way without doing this first. But yeah.
Yeah, that's super awesome. I'm gonna do that. And this, so when you say curved pen tool, so it's not the pen tool, it's like one of the other pen tools that are underneath there, because you can just in case anyone doesn't know, you usually, when there's a tool available to you in Photoshop, you can kind of right click on the menu and open some different variations or related tools. So that is not the pen tool, but the curve pen tool in that little drop down. Okay, cool.
Or to say the fancy version, the curvature pen tool is the best.
Pen tool. Okay, gotcha. And maybe that would be really cool to use, because personally, when I use the regular pen tool, I cannot seem to make all of the curves smooth and like flowing, so this looks like it really kind of maneuvers with the points to the left and right of it, like as you start to kind of go about it, is what it seems like to me. Right. So nice. That might actually be one of my new go-to things from now on, honestly.
Yeah, you should try it. Originally I started doing this because I was like, okay, because I went to SCAD,
Mm-hmm.
and SCAD is like known for having insane deadlines that are almost impossible to meet.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to find like which ways would be super like quick and efficient, but also still look really nice in case we had critiques.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just, sort of stuck with it.
And that's a great thing to do too, because I think that for me, and it sounds like for you as well, like, I came to a point where it was very important to try and find a way to work smart, not hard. And obviously you work hard, but like finding those ways to kind of like, like using the curvature pen tool, and other things, finding a way to get the most quality work done without stretching yourself so thin that you're in the danger zone,
Right.
because I think that doing illustration and graphic design and design in general as a profession, as an occupation, you run into a lot of points where time is money so often, and sometimes the people that ask you if you can do design for them don't understand what it takes to do that design, and they give you a deadline, and you're just kind of like, okay, how am I going to do this in
Exactly.
2 days? How do I fix this?
Yeah.
I'd be curious to know what's one of the maybe the hardest deadlines you've ever had to face in your work, like.
Ooh,
And then
girl.
I'm sorry, I'm putting you on the spot, but maybe also some advice for what you might have done differently, in hindsight now, kind of like looking
Yeah.
back on it.
So I've had like a lot of clients within like the past year, and like, a lot of them are typically like really lenient with their deadlines. They'll be like, hey, we need this illustration. You have like 2 weeks, 3 weeks to do it. And I'm like, oh, I can totally make that. But there's been, especially with like my concept art freelance gigs, there's, because it's a lot of work. There's been a lot of clients where they would need like an environment and then like 10 different variations of that environment in like 3 days. And I would be like, because environments are super, super time consuming. And then there's like the whole research portion that goes into it beforehand.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. But the last one specifically that I worked with, Way Forward Technologies, that was a really fun gig that I did, because I was doing some environment concept art for a video game that they had in development. It was super fun, but like the deadline, like he needed them within like days, and I was like, because I was working at the time,
Yeah. Yeah.
But but yeah, 3 days for like environment concept art. I think that was probably my tightest deadline. But typically with like other clients, if it's like one illustration within 1 or 2 days, I can usually make that, just because most of my free time is just spent drawing anyway. So I enjoy it. But there's definitely been like some harder challenges, let's just say.
Yeah, I think
yeah. Oh, yeah, sure. Let me...
so I think that one of the probably the hardest that I've had to do is just kind of the same thing. It's just like along the lines of there's like so much research that goes into something, and so much that needs to be actually delivered. I think that sometimes because there is a disconnect between client and artist, because I feel like clients would hire you to do something that they can't do. They don't have the know-how. And sometimes people who do have the know-how, they will ask you to do it because they need a bigger team, or, sometimes it's hard for us as designers to design for ourselves. So we seek another designer out for that, all that kind of stuff. But a lot of the time in my experience, the clients that I have don't particularly understand the process of design. And so I think that they believe that I sit down and I just draw the one thing, boom, and it's done. But as you say, like sometimes when it comes to during like a landscape illustration or designing a character or whatever, you do really have to put a lot of thought and research and effort into planning it out. And then sometimes you send a couple of designs over, but you've done like 10 of them, because I think most of the time, for every time somebody turns in a design, there's like at least 4 other designs that you never see that they had to do before they got to the one that is what they want.
Oh yeah.
So there's a lot more that goes into it. So when I hear people crunching on deadlines, I'm like, they gave you 2 days for that? Why?
I know. I mean, now I'm definitely like more used to it, but when you're like starting off and you're just like, oh, okay, so they were not kidding at my school when they said that this was the, standard in the industry. But I enjoy it. I like working under pressure, so it doesn't really bother me as much now as it used to.
I think I do work better under pressure a little bit, so I feel that.
Yeah, we all do.
But that doesn't mean it does not stress me out.
No, sometimes I'd be like, all right, so I should have never said yes, but now.
But you know what? Look what I got to put in my portfolio.
Exactly.
Let me see. I see all the OGs using pen tool over curvature pen tool, even for curves. I can't believe that. Yeah, Tanish, I am actually really surprised because, to be perfectly honest, I'm not really a I use the pen tool, but I've never really jumped in and used the curvature pen tool. So now that I know like how buttery it is, I'm gonna have to do it, and that might replace my pen tool from now on. I see you're coming in here and you're adding some facial hair and some little marks here to kind of differentiate different elements of the head. What sort of brush are you using right now?
So this one right here is the, I always use Kyle Webster brushes, by the way. Kyle Webster, I love you. But I always use his gouache set for line work and stuff like that.
Oh, nice.
So typically whenever I have like most of the, all of like those colors blocked in, I will go in with a gouache brush and then I will just like fill in some of that like line work, but I won't do it in like a complete, swift motion. I kind of just put the points wherever. But yeah, and that's typically how I get like my half line work look. I know a lot of people like will ask me on Instagram, but honestly, I just block in the colors and then just go back in with the line work. So kind of working backwards there, but it works for me. So
no, I like this. I like the feel of it, to be honest. In a way, I think it gives it more depth because there's line art there, and it's definitely separating certain elements from each other. But because there's not line art everywhere, it actually kind of pulls it more into a 3D space, despite the fact that it's very stylized. So it just looks really like he's standing on his own to me, kind of. That makes sense. And I dig it. I like it.
Thank you. But yeah, now we're just going into the little folds on his shirt. And I also don't really like to use like the smoothing tool that much, just because it's a lot harder for me to get like a clean line, because I told y'all gotta shake your hand, so it's a little harder for me to do it that way. But yeah, y'all should see me whenever I'm like doing environments, because I will be smacking on that Control Z. And it's definitely a process, but the end result is always worth it.
So is there a difference in your process for the landscapes than for the character design? Like, do you approach it the same way with blocking in these big shapes before you jump into like the painting and stuff, or do you do something different for that?
Yeah, so it's kind of half and half. So like with environments, I typically try to leave the line work like off, because I like when environments are just like clean cut, solid colors. So yeah, I'll usually go in with like the pen tool and everything, but I don't go back in. I don't do this extra step where I go back in with the pencil, because I just feel like it looks a lot more sleek if I leave it out.
Oh, okay. All right. Gotcha. So maybe does that mean it translates into a lot less like specific line work than the characters, and more based on like the shapes and the textures that you apply to those shapes? Gotcha.
Yeah. So typically, like whenever I'm working with environments, I'll do like a rough line art layer, and then I'll just go back in with the pen tool. And then instead of having like line work, I just try to make up for the line work by using a lot of texture. So that's why I love clipping masks.
Yes, clipping masks are bae. They really are. They are my favorite thing. Also, it looks like members of chat are sharing Bezier games that you can go to like, it's basically a game where you're playing like a game version of the pen tool to get more comfortable with kind of maneuvering in Photoshop with the Bezier curves. So that's interesting. You guys can check that out if you're interested in that sort of thing. Mervin is jumping in saying hello. It's good to see you, Mervin. Welcome in. Ferry is here and Andreas is here. Gareth, let me know if I have not greeted you yet. Pop into chat and send me your favorite emoji. I would like to know. Lena Gonzalez, welcome in. Lena says, I am loving this stream so much. I agree.
Thanks,
I think it's pretty awesome.
How am I doing for my first stream, y'all?
Oh, you're doing excellent. I've learned so much. Like, just, we've been live for what, 30 minutes, and I already have like a totally new approach to illustration that I'm possibly going to start doing more often, because this just looks like I would be able to do this successfully. Like, I love it. I think you've blown a couple minds in the chat. People are like, whoa, you know, everyone's loving your work. Yeah, I think it's going well. What do you guys think in chat?
But yes, so we're almost done with Ken, y'all. Let me get into his face a little bit more. Remember, he like never took his glasses off because he was always like, my eyes are really small, y'all. Don't look at me.
No.
Ken, if you're watching this, no, you're not.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, I feel like, again, this is very stylized, but I feel like in my head, I can imagine the real man behind this illustration, because the personality and the movement and just the whole design is so there that like I can picture the human behind this design, definitely.
Yeah, he was definitely a personality, but he was a good personality, so we love him. Love it. And then this is such a weird process, but I'm going in with a clipping mask so I can do his hair. So let me show y'all how I do a fade. Hold on.
Ooh, hook it up. Let me see.
Okay, so we're going to use this little maroon color. Then we're going to change the opacity a little bit. And then here's what I like to do. So I like to rasterize the pen layer basically whenever, like, this is usually what I do whenever I add in like textures and stuff. So I'll rasterize it, and then I'll go in with a noisy erase brush, and then I'll just fade it out like that.
Oh, nice.
And this is the same brush that I use for like all like my blushes in my characters, so you can like see the grain up close. But I like his fade. But yeah,
I do like it. It actually gives like a really nice kind of textury vibe without being too over the top, and it fits really well.
Yeah,
looking good.
And I'm just gonna do a couple of skin details. Nothing crazy, just like a little shine on his nose, because I always love putting like blush and like a little light source on the tip of their noses. It just adds like more personality.
I'm not gonna lie, that's one of my favorite things too, is just like, okay, I've painted a face, I've got it, you know, where I like it, and now I get to go I like to put the light on the tip of the nose. I like putting the light in like the corners of the eyes. And then sometimes if I'm painting someone with fleeky makeup, I've got to go in and do like lip shine. Make sure they look popping, you know, like yes. I love it so much. And then sometimes I get carried away and then I zoom out and I'm like, ooh, who let me do this for 25 minutes? Nobody needs to be spending 25 minutes on lip shine. What did I do?
Yes. And then we're just going to add it on his forehead, y'all, because why not? You know,
yes.
Try to get detailed.
Very immersive, because I bet there's forehead shine.
Yes. And I'm going to do the same in his skin. So clipping mask, y'all. Also, I know a lot of people like to name their layers as they go. I don't. I like to do that after, just in case I want to look back on the file. You do that too, right? Oh yeah. Yeah.
So I like to name groups sometimes. Like if I'm working and I know I'm working
Same.
on one item, I'll make a group and then I'll just like have a bunch of unnamed layers in there. I always tend to regret it because sometimes I have like hundreds of layers in a painting, and I get lost. But I found that making groups of specific elements, so all of the layers are loose in the group, and then if I need to, I can come back, but I still have all of those different elements separated, works. And then if I need to later, I will come back. But I always I'll just do like the hotkey for creating a new layer, and then it asks me every time, do you want to name this layer? And I'm like, nope, don't, not doing that.
Yeah. But yeah, I think naming group layers is like the best way to go, because if you name like every layer individually, I have a friend that does that. Hey Kelly, if you're watching this, Kelly is the best. She's also a character designer, and she's worked for people like Disney, so she's been in the industry for a while. But yeah, her files are like always perfect, and I'm just like, sis, I don't know if it's because I haven't worked at Disney yet, but I cannot adjust to this kind of workflow.
I don't know if this is for me, man. I don't know if that's what I'm gonna be doing because it's just you know what, for me, I'll be perfectly transparent with you guys. I think for me, I don't name layers sometimes because I'm impatient when I'm painting.
Right?
When I'm, like when I'm painting and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna add this here or that there or whatever. I just make that new layer and I go for it, and then in 45 minutes, I don't know where it's at or where it went, and I have to find it. I usually hold Control and then click around on my canvas, because if you hold Control and you left click, it will immediately take you to the layer that you're clicking, that is the topmost layer under your cursor. But if you hold Control and you right click, it'll give you a drop down menu from your cursor of every single layer that is directly under the point of your cursor, and you can select that just in case you have like a blending mode layer or a clipping mask and you're trying to get to the shape under that. I usually navigate like that, which does actually really, really help when you never name your layers and you're never organized about it until the end. But typically my files, and maybe you resonate with this, Chioma, is my files look super nice when I know that I'm going to be giving them to someone else, and
period.
Only just before I give it to someone else. So.
No, same. It's funny because like I'm working on a short film now. It's called Stash. It's coming out either this year or next year, by the way, y'all. So stay tuned for that.
Okay.
But yeah, I always have to turn in, because I'm like the environment concept artist. So I always have to turn in the PSDs when I'm done. And I always ask for like an extra 1 or 2 days, because I'm like, y'all, this is going to be like 200 layers that aren't named, that are merged, messy. So I always do that. Don't even feel bad about it.
I try not to be too hard on myself, and I also try not to be too hard on other people, because yes, organization is really good, and I think that I compensate for like my lack of organization with my layers by organizing other things. Like I make sure I have like a CC library that has all my project files in it, so if I want to drag something in, I don't have to go find a hidden layer with a shape on it. I've got a shape, that I can pull in from my libraries, or I use the groups, or I like to organize my colors and all that good stuff. But I try not to be too hard on myself, because I also think that in a way, maybe that impatience and not naming those layers and then going through it at the very end and organizing everything in a way is part of the process, because maybe I wouldn't be creating art the same way if I wasn't making those layers as fast as I do, possibly, like it's part of the process, right? So
I mean, hey, everybody's process is different. So my process is a mess, but I love my process. So.
Honestly, I'm very impressed with your process. Like,
thank you.
Seriously, I'm not just saying that. Like, I'm pumped, and after we get off of this stream, I'm gonna go open my Photoshop and I'm gonna use the curvature pen tool. I'm gonna use it. Like, this is kind of blowing my mind.
Yeah, I'm just adding like small little details in his clothing, because he was a simple man. But yeah, and then I'm just going in with like a couple of clipping masks and just adding some blush. So usually whenever, I guess this is like a helpful tip whenever you're adding blush to like darker skin tones, but I usually just try to go for whatever is the closest to the skin tone on the color wheel. So if I want to do like a red blush, I'll just yeah, I'll typically just try to gravitate more towards like the berry tones.
Mm-hmm.
Same rule goes for if you're working with like cooler skin tones, just stay with whatever is on your side of the color wheel.
Yeah.
But yeah, let me see. What should I use for his elbows? Let me just do a darker brown, a warmer brown.
Trust the process, Val from Wade Acuff. Thank you. Mervin says, I also use the control plus click technique. It helps. Yes, indeed. Kelly says, I make 30 layers and let the future me deal with the headache and start naming things later. Yes, exactly.
Yes. The
D.
only way to work.
D. Ross has jumped in from Canada. Welcome in, D. It's good to see you. Thank you for joining us.
And I think for all three of the teachers, I'll probably just add the textures together because there is a really cool cotton texture that I want to use on top of them for y'all. So hold on.
Okay.
Let me make his hand just a little bit smaller. He was also a bass player, so he had like huge hands, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
So let me try to capture that right now for you, Ken.
Man, I don't think I realized like just how hand intensive playing the bass was. I remember I learned how to play the bass when I was maybe 14. We had this guy lived on our street, and my brother and I would walk to the comic book shop on the weekends, and he would always be either also walking to the comic shop or walking back from the comic shop. And one day he was like, y'all just walk in the heat all the time. Like, what are you doing? And we we're like, we're going to the comic shop. We're going to go we played Magic the Gathering and stuff. And he was like, you guys want to learn bass instead? And we were like, yes. And he brought out, like, he had like a bunch of bass guitars in his house and he brought them out to the yard. And he was like, we're going to learn how to play the White Stripes. And I was like, yes, let's do it. And my hands are way too small to play a bass. Everybody, my hands are too small, and I don't know if I'm dedicated enough to doing it that I would allow myself to have those calluses, because those calluses are not a joke, and you can't get rid of them. Otherwise, it sucks to play the bass without the calluses, because you need them to, like, you know, really shred on it if you want to. So yeah, mad respect for bass players. That's a much harder instrument than I ever thought it was going to be.
Honestly, and I remember because like there would be times like after class where we'd just like be joking around, play each other's instruments. Mm-hmm. I tried playing the bass and my fingers were screaming, y'all. I was like, you know what, this is not for me. Let me just stick to my little cello and just keep it cute.
And those strings are so thick. Like it's not a joke. And I'm just like, because you see people on TV, or you see your friends, or you see, you know, whatever, and you just see people slapping the bass, and it's like, wow, that's super cool, you know, keeping tempo, you know, that's a pretty cool bass line, it's pretty neat. And then you actually hold one in your hands and you try to play it and you're like, this is really heavy. It's also much larger than I thought it was going to be, and I couldn't even pull the larger strings. I was like, there's no way I can do this.
Too much work, not for me. But so that is Ken for y'all.
He is precious.
Yeah, I was a little nervous. So I was like, this is gonna take a while, but I think we're good on time.
Yeah.
But yes.
No, I think we're doing really good on time, honestly. I think that it's kind of been almost a third of the time. So nice. and we're doing 3. So and then if you end up not getting to something, or if you end up needing, you know, more time, you could always work on it between streams, or work on it tomorrow, or whatever you want to do. And I imagine you're probably going to post these on social media. So if that does happen, everyone should follow her on Instagram and check out her website and stuff, so you folks can stay up to date on everything she posts, so that you can go and view all of this art for yourselves when it's all done. So
yes. All right, so now we're going to move into our second teacher. So this is Scott. Scott was actually my high school teacher up until freshman year to junior year, because he actually ended up transferring. But I'm trying to like describe Scott. Now, Scott, think of him like if Jim Halpert and Squidward had a kid, and the kid was
Oh,
like
okay.
5'3", because he was really short.
Oh man.
Yeah,
So
but he was
character all
great.
the way.
Yeah, we love Scott. He was the funniest, easily the funniest out of all three. But let me describe, I guess, his personality. He was very, I don't know, like he would always come in and like complain like about his wife or his kids, but and then he would always be like, I want to
The
go home.
opposite of the last guy.
Yeah, pretty much like the opposite of Ken, pretty much polar opposite. But yeah, he like was very, very negative, but he was really funny, and he played beautifully. So he was kind of like that one kid in class who like would sleep all the time, but would still ace everything. Like that's basically what Scott was.
That's awesome though. That's like, honestly, I think that there's something to be said about like the humor of self-depreciation sometimes, like having that, like it's like negative jokes and whatever, but like it almost, I think when you have somebody who's really funny, who makes like sour jokes and stuff, it actually kind of makes you feel better about the stuff that's hard in your own life, right?
Yeah.
You know? And to see that somebody can just kind of, you know, joke around about stuff. So I like that sort of humor, and I think it definitely comes through in your sketch.
Yeah. And he always had coffee. Like he was like a coffee addict. So every single morning, even before we'd like tune instruments, he would just be like at his podium stirring his coffee. So that was like a very vivid memory I have of him. But
oh wow, I love it.
Yeah, he was great though. Scott, if you're watching this, I miss you, buddy. Hope you're doing well.
Kelly was saying there's little finger covers you can use for the bass, but I don't know how effective they are. I would feel like, because I tried to use gloves for flute one time, and I just, when I had something on my hands when I played my instrument, it made me feel like I wasn't mastering my instrument, if that makes sense. Like I felt like there was something in between me and the instrument, and there was, and it just feels strange. But I had I still have it actually, it's in the closet right back here. I had the flute that has, if you've ever seen, there's a flute that you play like this, and sometimes they have little pucks that pop out of some of the keys, so to improve and get a different sound, so that you can, like when you press it down, you're actually holding your finger over an actual hole, similar to a clarinet, if anyone's familiar with clarinets. And I wore a glove for a time, like trying to figure out how to maneuver those holes in the keys, and that was weird to me. That was strange. Did you actually play the White Stripes or not? Oh, of course, yeah. I played Seven Nation Army on the bass. That's the only bass song I can play. That's it. And I would argue that it doesn't really sound like Seven Nation Army unless you listen real close. But I tried.
If you just hope, if you just believe, it'll sound like it.
Use your imagination. And it's definitely the White Stripes. Let's see. Yeah,
he used to always wear these I was gonna say he used to always wear these like really big button up. So again, polar opposite of Ken. But
totally, yeah.
Yeah, and like his pants were never like the right height, like they would always drag on the floor. So, you know, that was like a detail about him. And it was funny because whenever you could always tell he was stressed out during concert week, because he would always ditch the button ups and just wear like a white t-shirt that was always tucked in. And then he would just have like his coffee in his hand, and then he'd just be screaming at everybody. But very vivid memory. I miss it though, because we always played better whenever he was like mad. So
yeah, I mean, we had a drum major like that whenever we were doing concert, because we put on shows. We did field show competitions, and we did parades and stuff, parade competitions, and we had a drum major for a while. That was super interesting. And honestly, going from having kind of a mean drum major to a drum major, for those of you who don't know, is the person who walks in front of the band, usually has a baton. The military batons are like the short ones, or like batons are like the big ones, and they have like the hat, they have the whistle, and they're directing everyone and leading us down the street. There's a difference between having a drum major who's like, you know what, don't worry about it, and a drum major who's like, we're gonna do drills in the sun today because you get good at it, and that pressure helps. It's cool.
Yeah.
Can we compose a song together? Honestly, I feel like we among us, with just who's on this stream right now and the folks in chat, we could probably all compose a soundtrack together with the
Yeah.
amount of different instruments we've got. I want to know specifically, all of you folks in the chat, if you play an instrument, or if you want to play an instrument, tell us in the chat. I want to hear it. I want to know what you play or what you would love to play one day. Do you have any instruments that you don't play that you've always been interested in?
Yeah, I've always wanted to learn how to play the piano, but I always thought I was like, I'm not really free and a prodigy, so I don't know if it's like too late for me to start. But yeah, I've always loved the piano and I always thought it was super pretty. Whenever I'm like working, I try to listen to like music to get the creative juices flowing, you know. And I always listen to like piano covers. So
oh yeah, I listen to orchestra covers of Star Wars music.
Nice.
That like really gets the creative gears going. I think I'd like to, I don't know if I will ever have the time for it, but if I ever found myself in a situation where I could play an instrument, like learn to play an instrument, I would love to learn bassoon.
Nice.
I think it's got a cool name
woodwind,
and a
right?
cool look, a cool sound. Yeah, it's in the clarinet family, I believe, and it's like, if you've ever watched Pixar or Disney or DreamWorks or whatever, like all these things, anytime somebody's getting up to no good, there's like mischief, you know, and they need like something poppin' to kind of show that, you know, this character is hopping around in the forest where he ought not to be. And it's usually bassoon music. Bassoon is like, it's like mischievous and it's cool. I love it.
Nice.
Yeah, so check out bassoon.
That and the clarinet. I only wanted to learn the clarinet because it's Squidward though, but I was like a kid, so that made more sense back then. But it's still a really pretty instrument.
I feel like for our generation, everybody has to have picked up a clarinet at least once in their life because of Squidward, and then realized that it's actually not super, super, super easy to play.
Yeah,
it's.
Let me just tie my hair back. Hold on.
I can play piano and a bit of guitar. I always wanted to play the violin. I always wanted to play the violin too, and I actually did one violin lesson. And that lesson, when the music teacher was like, I don't think this is going to work out for you. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, it's just not going to work out. I'm sorry, but I don't think that the violin is for you. I don't think that you have the violin gene. And I was like, okay, that's really depressing. And he was like, but I'm gonna hand you one of these. And he put a flute in my hand and he said, have you ever played this? And I was like, I play the saxophone. And he was like, that's perfect because it's the same fingerings, you should play this. And then he gave me flute lessons at the same time I was supposed to be getting violin lessons, and I learned the flute. And I did all right. So right now you're starting to kind of like drop more shapes in here, kind of building up more of our character here. And I noticed that you do keep some of these shapes on a lower opacity while you're kind of setting up some of the other limbs and stuff. Is that something that you do often, where you just keep it so that you can see the overlap of everything and then turn it up afterwards? Or
and I don't know why, but usually whenever I make like the values lighter like that, it helps me figure out like the values beforehand. Because whenever I use like super saturated colors, which is like always, I try to like tone it down a little bit just so I get all the color differentiation right. And it helps, you know, so.
Yeah, this is my favorite orange color of his shirt. So I'm really digging this.
Yeah, he always had like this orange, or he always wore like orange for some reason too. I don't know why.
Really?
Maybe he was, I don't know, but he loved orange, so just adding that.
That's awesome though.
Yeah.
Let's see. Gareth can print full-sized ukuleles, like 3D print ukuleles. I'd be interested to hear the sound that a 3D printed ukulele makes, honestly.
I didn't know you could do that with instruments.
Yeah. Oh, Mervin wants to play the drums. I have no rhythm for drums. It's not gonna work for me.
I can snap and clap. That's about it.
I try to snap and clap and maybe do a little swaying, but if left alone and unsupervised in a dance setting, I do start to clog, and it's not good. It's not,
Listen, clogging is totally valid.
yeah. Thank you.
I was trying to be supportive.
Thank you. I felt it. That was genuine support there, and I will take it. I just don't know how much I believe that it's okay. Wade says perpetual Halloween and fall vibes. I dig. Yes, it sounds like he was very into fall colors for sure.
Another thing about him is like he was super, super chill, despite the fact that he was like stressed about everything. It was weird. It was like a weird combination. But yeah, like whenever we'd finish playing like a super hard piece, he'd give us like a week to just watch movies and like chill.
Oh wow.
So he was a chill dude. And then when he left, we got like a teacher that was the polar opposite of him. But I will get to him in a little bit.
So. Oh, awesome. So we're basically going through the evolution of the All right, we should be back. Sorry, folks, if there was a little bit of a hiccup there, but we are jumping back into it. So I had said before, yes, there was a disturbance in the stream. Thank you, General Kenobi, for the Star Wars mojo there. Before we were taken down for just a moment there, we were talking about silhouettes. So yeah, I would love to know maybe the process of like sort of what you keep in mind as you start to place these in, because especially with that collar that you threw in there, you really, you know, it's one shape, but you really went in there and maneuvered that and just put it in a 3D space. So what sort of things do you think about when you're putting in stuff at angles and in perspective like this?
I guess I try to like exaggerate the silhouette as much as possible, because when I was in school, we took like a bunch of character design lessons. And one thing that they would always try to say is that your character has to be distinguishable regardless if it's filled in or not. So, you know, we have like a lot of classic characters that have like distinct silhouettes, like SpongeBob and Mickey Mouse. So I always try to like kind of push their, I guess, poses so that you can see left to right as easily as possible. And yeah, that's usually what I do. And typically whenever I'm making a character, I try to think of like one solid shape that defines them. So like I said before, like for Ken, I think of like circles, ovals, maybe for him because he was a friendly man. And then with Scott, I tried to think of like a trapezoid or like triangles because he was always on edge. And I don't know, triangles put me on edge for some reason. I guess it's because they're odd, but
they are a little odd.
Yeah. So yeah, I just try to think of them as like geometric shapes before I go in and add more detail, if that makes sense.
Yeah, cool. All right. So, I mean, maybe that's a good thing that we all can keep in mind when we're designing characters is, you know, I suppose it also depends on the kind of projects and stuff you're doing, but maybe a little bit of attention to detail when it comes to the actual silhouette of your characters and kind of imagining how they might look turned and all that stuff is great. Even if you're doing a straight on portrait or whatever, like just kind of keeping in mind that 3D space.
Yeah.
Flintstones, Jetsons, yep. Everyone's talking about cartoon characters, Yogi Bear, yes. I don't know about you guys, but there's been enough artistic episodes of SpongeBob SquarePants that I think that I recognize Squidward from every single angle because that man just paints himself for whatever reason. I feel like I've seen thousands of Squidwards at this point. Speaking of that, there was a time, and I think that there's a couple, Wade might be one of them, maybe Sam Peterson. For a while, there was a group of us that just had the Squidward nose. And so we'd finish a painting. And then at the end, we'd grab the nose and slap it right in the middle and go, now it's art. Doesn't matter what it is. Just throw it in there. Now it's art. There we go. Never heard of triangles putting someone on edge. Yeah, I think that you can elicit like a lot of different responses in people depending on the colors and the shapes
Yeah.
that you use when designing. And I think that that's why it's so important what you were talking about. You know, discerning what kind of a person that the man is, and then using shapes to try and convey that emotional softness visually, which is, you know, really cool. Just kind of trying to pull that in there. And then he has some round edges here too, but he also has like the pointy elbow and, you know, the flat top on his head and all that stuff that just still really adds a lot of like, you know, interesting
Personality.
yeah, interesting movement and personality.
Yeah. I also think I'm just doing that for him because he was like an anxious like person, but he was still like really, really sweet. At times. He had his good moments. So yeah. But right now I'm just blocking in the shapes and adding just a little bit of that same noise texture that I usually use whenever I'm adding in like some blush.
So you're using the brush for that, kind of filling in with some texture, and that is like airbrush, soft, low density, grainy.
Yeah, so this one, this specific brush, I got it online somewhere. I literally searched like the depths of the earth to find these brushes. So if I do find them, I'll link them on my Instagram or my Behance. But yeah, it's honestly just like a regular airbrush that has like a little bit of dissolve. So really nothing too major, but it makes a nice little texture.
Nice. Another place that you guys can get some really cool brushes, obviously, if you go to Adobe, you can find a lot of Kyle T. Webster's brushes, but if you folks are looking for an excellent archive of brushes where you can get all kinds of things, you should head over to digitalbrushes.tumblr.com. It's really awesome. It's this, whoever it is has, looks like somebody named Amber, is curating this huge, impossibly long list of brushes, and it shows artwork that was made with the brushes and a link to where you can download them and credits to all the artists that have created them and everything. So it's like this huge, massive archive where you can find and it's, it is. Anytime I've been wondering like where I could find the proper brush, if I've kind of come up empty-handed, I always find something that I need on digitalbrushes.tumblr.com. So check it out, y'all.
I'm just adding a little bit of shading to his face, you know, get a little dimension in there.
Yeah, that looks good. I like that his ear is kind of droopy.
It's the Crocker ear, everybody.
It's so cute. Gosh, yeah, you just like pull the whole shape of that brow out. I cannot wait to use this. I'm so pumped.
Yeah, I think that's also why having like a distinct silhouette is so important, because it's really easy to use the pen tool once you already know like which corners you're going to be cutting. So yeah. Do not ever give me a paintbrush, y'all, because I am so attached to this method. But yeah,
it's very satisfying to watch it come together too. Like once you start to pull and push things, I'm just like, ooh, keep going. I love this. Like I would watch like, I don't know if you've ever been stuck on YouTube watching those satisfaction reels where it's somebody spreading frosting on a cake for like 12 minutes, and I'm just like, what am I doing here? But that's kind of what this feels like, where I watch you start pulling these shapes into place, and I'm like, this is what I needed today. I just needed to watch this.
I had a phase where I was like obsessed with those soap cutting videos. I don't know why, but they're like so satisfying to watch.
They are super satisfying. No joke. Where can you find the brush you're looking for? General Kenobi. These are the brushes you're looking for, and they're on digitalbrushes.tumblr.com, most likely. maybe not the exact ones that Chioma is working with right now, but I'm sure you could find something similar if you're looking for something with that style. Just scroll down through there and you can look and see. I think I like digitalbrushes.com too, because I go and I look and I find brushes that are really cool, and sometimes I download those brushes and then I start to use them and they're not as smooth and nice as I really wanted them to be. They're different
Right.
in application versus just seeing the icon for them online. So being able to get a artistic piece or two or three or four that's done with the brushes really shows me what the end product can look like if you use it. And that's really cool when you're looking for brushes, is being able to see what can be done with it. So
Also, another thing that a little note about him, he had like the prettiest eyelashes ever.
oh, no
And I
way.
was always so jealous because I was like, first of all, you don't wear makeup, you don't deserve these. I do.
You don't
But
deserve these.
but yeah, he had like the nicest eyelashes ever. It was crazy. So that's why I'm adding these little flaps right here.
Oh, I love it.
But yeah, I typically will whenever I'm referencing like a real person, I like to exaggerate a lot of like their natural features, just just because it's more fun.
No, that's
It
cool
adds more
because
personality.
it's almost like a caricature in a way, maybe,
Yeah,
and that's why I think, when you do a caricature or you do even just a cartoon rendition of somebody or whatever it is, you look for those key points in a person's face or a person's body, or whatever you're illustrating, as like landmarks, and you got to make sure to get those in, so that it's recognized as what you're doing, and you can kind of be as stylized with it as you want, so long as those key components of the appearance are present.
exactly. And I also like looking at a lot of different caricatures from different artists. So I don't know if anyone in here knows who Asia Ellington is. She's a character designer who works for Disney TV right now, actually.
Let's see.
And she's great. So a lot of my caricature inspiration came from her originally. And then I started doing more caricatures because of her. So.
Oh, wow. This is great work. Wow.
Check her
Oh,
out. She's great.
yeah. I've seen the Mickey Mouse stuff. Oh, no. So cute. Yeah, this has got like a very retro kind of vibe to it, I think.
Right.
Yeah, this is neat. Thank you for sharing her with us. This is cool.
Yeah.
Let's see. Norvell Rashad says, how do you find inspiration for upcoming pieces? My apologies if you've covered this already. I think that's a great question. How do you come up with ideas for new pieces? How do you get inspired? And what does the process look like, kind of planning to make something new?
Yeah, so I watch a lot of movies, and like a lot of what I do watch is like very fantasy based, or just like stuff that's like otherworldly, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why like my love for like a lot of whimsical work came from.
Mm-hmm.
I also like a lot of my inspiration came from like a lot of children's shows growing up because I work for Noggin now.
Oh,
Big surprise.
no way!
Yeah, I work for Noggin.
I grew up watching Noggin.
Yeah,
I
so
love Noggin.
it's the best. But yeah, so a lot of that usually comes from like otherworldly things. And a lot of, I guess, I don't really, it's kind of hard for me to like sit down and think, okay, I'm going to do this. So I usually just come up with like little prompts for myself. And then I'll like branch off with those prompts. I also like reading, and reading helps me gain a lot of inspiration.
Yeah, same. Totally same. It sounds like we like to watch the same stuff. And I haven't like been picking up physical books and reading them lately because I've been a little busy, but I listen to audiobooks all the time when I work.
Nice.
I listen to fantasy stories and all kinds of crazy stuff while I work, which is kind of a great source of inspiration. It's also something that's really fun to do while you're working and like kind of grinding on a project.
Yeah.
So good times. Let's see. Mervin says, sorry, just repeating my question as I am not sure whether it got posted. Any specific reason to use Photoshop for characters instead of Illustrator?
Yeah, I think I just prefer the mechanics of Photoshop. I also like the fact that it to me, for like a lot of the brushes that I like to use and just the way I like to work, I feel like it's just more comfortable. But I have used Illustrator like a couple of times because a lot of like my earlier work from like 2018, I just used Illustrator because I just discovered the pen tool and I was like, this is amazing. But yeah, so it hasn't always been like, I don't like Illustrator, but I think it's just because I found that Photoshop was a lot more comfortable with just the way I like to work. So.
Yeah, I think I'm the same way. I've seen people illustrate in Illustrator, but I think that perhaps the title is a little misleading because I think that Illustrator is actually mainly for people who are doing like logo design and illustrations, yeah, like graphic kind of stuff. But I would say that I think more people do like, how would I say it? Like, I think there's a, like, you know, people who are painting and illustrating in particular styles are probably not going to use Illustrator. I think Illustrator kind of gives a very particular kind of look, and you can go in, you can add textures and all that kind of stuff. But I think that for somebody who's illustrating, and this is what I hear from other people who do illustration that I have asked, Photoshop offers kind of a more organic process, if that makes sense, whereas Illustrator feels a little bit more technical.
Yeah.
So hoping
it's a great app for graphic design too.
Yes, absolutely.
For that.
But the thing is, I do all of my graphic design in Photoshop. I'm bad.
Same.
I'm a rebel.
Yeah, it's just easier, but you know.
Because when you know it, you know, you feel comfortable in it, and that's the thing, right? I think a lot of people have asked me over the years why I do certain things in Photoshop, and I just tell them this is just what I like, you know. And I can do this in Photoshop, so I'm not really going to change. Maybe if I had a client specifically who was like, you know, I need you to do it in this program. I don't know why, but you know, maybe they have requirements like that. Maybe I would, but unless that happens, like I'm going to use what I'm super comfortable using, and I'm super comfortable in Photoshop. So,
right. It's the best program in my opinion.
Let's see.
We're going to get started on his hair. This is going to be fun. He always did like a comb over. It was like the funniest thing ever.
Oh no.
But it was cute. So we're going to give him a little comb over. It was always really spiky in the front. He used to always put like gel right there. So I'm gonna make that extra spiky today.
Yes. Again, I can really see the human person behind this illustration. Like I can visualize him 100%. Let's see. Bernadette says, I wanted to work today in Photoshop, but I lost my motivation and I kept getting myself distracted by all sorts of minimal stuff. So I'm kind of sad. Monday is almost over here. Well, Bernadette, I understand exactly how you feel, and I'm sure you've probably felt that way too, right, sorry, I keep reading your name and trying to pronounce it how it's spelled and not actually how you say it. I apologize.
No, yeah, you're okay. But hello, Bernadette. So honestly, Photoshop is really just a thing about patience. Because when I first of all, there's like so many things you can learn in it, which is why so many people are like super intimidated by it. But honestly, you just gotta like sit down and like give yourself some time, like just think about what it is that you want to learn and then just take the steps, you know, then on there. And then you get to form your own like kind of workflow, because when I first started like having this method, I was kind of like all over the place. So I would start taking like inspiration from other people and I would see how they would work. And I was like, okay. And then I tried to incorporate that into my routine. So yeah, there's a lot to learn. Don't feel bad. Like it's a lot, but once you learn like a comfortable workflow, then Photoshop is like the best thing ever.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of us don't really give ourselves enough credit because it's, you know, It is hard, and maybe it's different when you watch streams where people are using the program kind of seamlessly and they look very comfortable in the program, and you kind of want to do that and it's not really working for you. But I'm telling you, there's a learning curve. This is a great place to be, as you know, if you are looking for some support, but don't get so down on yourself if it's just not working. Sometimes you run out of motivation and it's okay. I would even go so far to say as running out of motivation maybe is your creativity telling you it's time to take a break. Like you have to take a break, because I don't know about you guys, but I sometimes force myself to keep creating even when I'm beyond the point, where I should be creating. I need to take a break and kind of rest my mind a little bit. So if you are distracted and you're feeling a lack of motivation, maybe just watch something creative without pressuring yourself into thinking that you need to do something right now that's going to inspire you and motivate you to go do a bunch of work. Just enjoy creativity. And if that means watching someone else create, or watching a movie, or watching a show, do that. Don't be so hard on yourself. Don't put so much pressure on you.
And I'm glad you said like the whole thing about taking a break, because burnout is like inevitable. I've learned if you're an artist and you never take the time to like slow down and give yourself time. And yeah, like I had like the worst creativity block last year, when COVID started. And I was like, I don't really have the motivation to, keep doing all this. But I had so much work. So I was just constantly putting things out because I felt like I had to. But then I gave myself a break.
And they're all looking at social media all the time, and people are looking at my stuff, and I gotta fill it up.
It's like I have to post something every week. But if you ever get a point where you're just like, I don't know what I'm doing, it's always like okay to take a break, because the art's not going nowhere. You can come back to it.
Yep, that's perfect. The art's not going nowhere. And honestly, like I can't tell you how often I regret it when I force myself to create. And it's different when you got bills to pay, you got a deadline to meet, all that good stuff. Then I think managing breaks interspersed between working moments and non-working moments, that is a great thing to do. And don't beat yourself up about realizing it's time for a break, because you have to take care of yourself during a deadline process. You just have to. But if you're not trying to meet a deadline and you just have something that you really want to do, that you want to learn, that you want to take the time to do, don't force it. Because I regret that every time I force it, I never quite make exactly what I wanted to make. And by the end of it, my shoulders hurt and I'm frustrated with the piece more than I'm pleased with it. So do you ever get like that where you paint or you illustrate so much that your shoulders hurt?
Oh yeah. It got to a point where I was like, I don't even want to get up and like start drawing. Which whenever you get to that point, you got to think, okay, I have to change something in my routine. So yeah,
gotta stop slouching.
Right?
No slouching. I gotta sit up straight. I got myself like a little rotating arm thing to rest my elbow in on my left side. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, I think too, like, keep in mind, folks, you can illustrate or design so hard that you are in physical pain. You can. And I think that a lot of people think, because I'm sitting down all day, I'm drawing pictures all day and all that stuff, it's not that bad, but you can actually develop physical problems if you don't take care of yourself. So, take care of your posture, hydrate, all those things, and keep in mind that you are as important as your artwork.
Exactly. I always have to have like these little times and like throughout the day where I'm like, okay, sit up straight, just to like remind myself.
Yep. Oh man, this is looking so good. Yeah. It's like really coming together. Oof. I love it. So
add a little texture.
What is the like kind of the lifespan of these illustrations? Is this something that you will post, or will the actual men being illustrated get to see them? Is that a possibility?
I am only in contact with Kyle right now. But like if I wanted to, I could just easily reach out and be like, hey guys, we haven't talked in years, but like I drew you on an Adobe Live cast, and they're like, oh, okay, well, thanks. So
Thanks, guys.
yeah. But
Yeah, I would love to. So are you going to be posting them like on your social media?
yeah, I'm gonna post these on my Instagram as like a little preview for tomorrow's character design workshop. And then I'm
Awesome.
gonna put in my portfolio because I'm trying to fill up my character design portion of it.
Nice, nice. So when it comes to like if you were doing this, these were like final concepts for a client. I'm curious to know, and maybe it's a little unrelated to this project, but what sort of steps would you take when it comes to presenting something like this to a company? Like, would you leave them in space like this with the background, or would you set them up in a scene, or how would that look depending on where this is going to go?
Yeah. So usually whenever I like pitch something to a client, if it has like character designs, I'll put them on like a blank canvas like this for like the character lineup. And then I'll do like a separate piece where they're actually in an environment, just so that you can see like what they look like dimensionally.
Okay.
I'll usually put like a little PDF together and then just send that to a client. And they like go crazy over stuff like that. So yeah,
Nice,
I
nice.
just adopted the habit of doing that.
Kind of seeing the character and then seeing the character in action.
Yeah, they love stuff
Nice.
like that.
And your Instagram has been posted in the chat by Wade Acup. Everyone, please check out her Instagram because this is a great place to kind of go and be able to see the artwork up close and also check out all of her other work. And there's actually some questions that I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, what's up?
That I'm going to end. Give me a moment here because there was one piece in particular that I wanted to ask a question about. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this opportunity to pick your brain a little bit.
Sure, what's up?
Because I think I saw some like mushroom animation.
Oh yeah, the little self-portrait.
Yeah, it's so cute, and the mushroom is just snoring. So, is this like Photoshop timeline, or is this a different kind of animation program?
Yeah, so that one is still Photoshop, and it is the frame by frame animation
Nice.
timeline.
Nice.
So yeah, because I've noticed like with like the actual like video timeline, it's a lot harder because you have to like draw in every single frame.
Yeah.
But if you're doing like frame by frame, it's a lot easier to use like the puppeteer tool, which is what I use. So
okay.
yeah,
like the puppet warp.
The little puppet. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. That's interesting. I use the frame by frame animation in the Photoshop timeline. I actually use that quite often. But recently I have actually dabbled in the video timeline, and it's kind of interesting because it's almost like I feel like I have more range with what I can do in the Photoshop frame timeline, but I also feel like if I want something to be really smooth as far as the movement from, around the canvas or whatever, I feel like I can make that look really smooth in the video timeline. So it's kind of interesting. But yeah, I was just curious to know like how you put that together. And then do you do more like is Illustrator animation something that you like to do often, or is it mostly just the 2D work?
Yeah, so I mostly prefer to do like 2D work, but fun fact, I was actually an animation minor at SCAD. So I did like a couple of, I did a little bit of animation.
Nice.
So yeah, but most of like the animation that I do is not like feature film worthy. It's literally just like small little GIFs. So I found that that was why I like using the frame by frame animation, just because, it's quick and simple.
You know what? That's about what I like to do. It's just, it's not anything extravagant. It's not wild and crazy, but it gets the job done and it makes something a little more interesting, so you post it and it kind of draws the eye and looks neat.
Right.
I love also one of the things that I love about your work is when you get into the portraiture that is on your Instagram. The hair, the movement of hair, and the personality in just the eyebrows on your characters is no joke. Like, I don't know why that sticks out to me so much, but I'm like seeing it, like everybody has a hairdo that is so unique to them, and it doesn't look like you just like clicked on a Lego man hairdo. Like they all have like this beautiful movement, and they all have really, really pretty fleeky eyebrows, which is awesome.
Thanks.
Um,
Um, yeah, I think that's like one feature that I just have like the most fun with exaggerating. That and ears. That no ears,
yes.
noses, and yeah, that I don't know. They add the most personality in people's faces. They're also like the first thing that I notice whenever I look at people. So
Really?
yeah,
That's interesting. That's very interesting.
yeah. So
I
that's
think
what I try to do.
now that you say it, you do, and I kind of caught because I really loved his ears that you're working on now. But yeah, now that I'm looking at the, fully at the breadth of your work as well here, your ears are definitely, definitely very prominent. And they add a little extra cool something something to everybody,
Yeah, a little extra oomph.
Yes, I agree. SCAD is great. My former art teacher works there as an instructor for the Photoshop for a 3D environment course. Awesome. Awesome.
Nice. Yeah, I just graduated from there back in May, actually. So still a fresh SCAD bee, but
okay. Cool, cool. All right. And then let's see, we have about 30 minutes left, I believe. I want to make sure.
I think that's enough time for Kyle.
Yeah, we got 30 minutes left. So if you have any questions or comments or things that you would like to share, please do so now. If you are over in the YouTube chat, please head over to behance.net/live because that's where we are reading the chat. We're reading the comments and interacting with all of you folks. But I would love for all of you, if you have any questions or things that you want to discuss, to please get them in chat as soon as you can so we have some time to discuss it before we have to take off. Why don't you make it an Illustrator? Are there any specific reason for that? We kind of talked about that earlier. This one is from Fairy. My general answer to that is just I like Photoshop. That's what feels right to me.
Yeah.
That's typically what I do. Bernadette even is saying, yeah, personal preferences. You know what I use Illustrator for, actually? Because there are some things that Illustrator does that I don't really get other places. And that is, I like to use the, what is it called? The live gradient maps or something like that. It's like you can open up and you can put little pinpoints of color that each pinpoint is a different color of a different shade, hue, and value, and you can change it and you can move them around and they blend in with each other, and you can just like live edit this really awesome like gradient board of color. Is it the live gradients? I think, I'm not sure, but I jump in there and I use that all the time if I want something that looks sort of like that.
Yeah. Right. And this, guys, is the last teacher, my favorite. So this is Kyle. Kyle was the Sheldon Cooper of my school, I guess. He was really, really sweet. He came in after Mr. Haig as his takeover. And yeah, he was like the best. He was very like socially aware. I remember, little quick story time. Me and my best friend were at Pride that year, because this was like back in like 2016. And then like we just see the silhouette of this tall, skinny man like just playing the violin. And we're like, that's not Mr. Is it? And then he turns around and he's like, well, hello, ladies. And we're just like, okay,
oh my God, that's beautiful.
It was like the weirdest fever dream, but like, yeah, he was there just playing his viola. It was like for a charity that he was, that was why he was there. But it was really, really weird, but also
that's
really
awesome. Though. That's super cool.
So,
by the way, I'm here at Pride playing music. How you doing?
How you doing, ladies?
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, he was great. And he was definitely the most uptight of them all. There was never a day where like he would let us watch movies or just chill out. We were always playing something. But all of us improved so fast because he would make us play really, really difficult music. Like we went from playing like the first keys of Pachelbel in like junior year, and then we were playing stuff like Nosferatu and then Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
He really, really pushed us. But I played the best that I ever played, and I was first chair, so I was his favorites. I'll say it right now. But
It's me.
yeah. So he was great. And I really miss him. I hope he's doing well. I saw that he got a new car on his Facebook. So congrats to you, I guess, bestie. But yeah.
Um, Definitely tons of personality here too, like no mistaking it. So this is just so cool. I just love this so much.
Yeah. And he was like I said, he was like really uptight, but he was a really sweet person. So and his ears were like super round, but he had like a very like long nose. So I'm just trying to capture a little bit of that.
I love it. I think this pose specifically, like the angle of his face, is very, very whimsical. Like it has just a lot of motion, and the other ones do too, but this one in particular, I think, has like a very unique kind of vibe to it. Because his head's turned and it's lifted back, and he's got these, these ears and that nose that is just like such a prominent silhouette. I just love it. This is cool.
Yeah, he was the best. Very classy man. But yeah, he pushed this really well.
Yeah, this is neat. I had a teacher that was like that for a while. One of probably my favorite music teacher I've ever had, honestly. And she came in to, I think it must have been my freshman year in high school. She was brand new. And I had a horrible music teacher previously. And she was when I was in middle school, and it turned out she was the music teacher at the high school as well, but she'd been replaced during the summer. So when I showed up there, I thought I was going to have the same music teacher, and it was a different woman. And she sat us all down. She said, "We're going to talk about what we're going to do for the year." And we were like, "Okay." And she said, "What's going on, guys? Like, why is everybody quiet?" And they're like, "Well, at the time, it was kind of a stereotype. Like, we were the band kids. We weren't really very cool,
Right.
We weren't popular, we were all very strange." And
Just
she's
vibing,
like, "Yeah, just doing our thing, watching anime, reading comics, drawing anime, playing the flute, and all of the other nerd stuff that we would do." And she sat us down and she talked to us, and she said, "There's no reason that all of you wonderful musicians should be sitting here feeling like you're not very cool. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna turn you into rock stars." And she promised us that she would do that, and she did it. It was really, really cool. Probably the best music teacher I've ever had in my life. Gave us confidence,
Love that.
Yeah.
Pay teachers more, guys. They deserve it.
Yes, support
they
teachers.
They are the best.
Teachers, they transform and shape lives, man.
Right?
And I will never forget her. I will never. That's something that I've carried with me to my adult life. Even though I'm not doing music anymore, I'm still doing a creative job, and I've never not thought of those words, where she was telling me that I was worth it. That was a big deal. And yeah,
teachers are the best, y'all.
Yep. Bernadette says teachers can really change your perspective on the subject they teach you. Had a horrible piano teacher, and I struggle with piano to this day. Yeah, sometimes it can leave a bad taste in your mouth if you have a bad teacher. When it comes to learning something too, it just kind of makes you meh about, certain subjects.
Yeah, you lose the motivation too.
Yeah, definitely. But that's why it's always good to try to find another instructor, try to find someone else to support you, because just like somebody can be a bad instructor and give you a negative experience with that, somebody else can just as easily fix that for you with positivity. Exactly.
I'm just blocking in the colors for Kyle here. I'm going to make his elbows pointy, because he had pointy elbows.
He seems like a pointy elbow kind of guy. Not gonna lie.
Friendly Squidward. There we go.
Friendly Squidward. Thanks for sharing that with us. Oh, no problem. I think that, when you get on the stream and you do the things, and you're like breaking hearts with these awesome techniques and all this kind of stuff, I think it's easy to kind of watch from the chat, from the audience, and just assume that that person is doing that cool thing because they're so much better than you and so far beyond you, and you won't get there for a long time. And so one of the things I like to do whenever I stream here is to approach it with a bit of humbleness and kind of humanize myself, at least as much as I can. And I think that we're both pretty down to earth here on this stream. So yeah, just don't, you know, I think that confidence is a huge part of being successful when it comes to art, but unfortunately, it's very easy for artists not to feel much confidence. Rather, they're comparing themselves to other people or comparing themselves to someone else's idea of what they should be doing, and we fall victim to that all the time. And at least here, let's not do it. You know, at least here, let's think we're awesome and feel good about what we create, right?
Yeah, exactly. I went on your page before this and I was like, oh my God, she's so good. But I didn't want to seem nervous.
No, don't be nervous. I was really excited because I had seen your work before. And I was like, oh my gosh, I get to talk to her. She's going to talk to me. I'm going to talk to her. We're going to be friends. It's going to be great.
We're going to be besties.
I hope I don't ruin this because...
No, you're doing awesome.
Thanks. You are doing a splendid job too. I know that I'm not the only one in chat who's trying new things in Photoshop today, because this has been very enlightening. Let's see. Pointy or bowling ball joints? You know, I did reading that for a split moment. I didn't know what bowling ball joints are, but now I do, like in cartoons where there's just like a little knob on the elbow.
I love doing that with knees. That's like my favorite thing.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Fairy's talking about his teacher. He has a really great teacher who is teaching him how to shade traditionally and draw skies and clouds realistically and faces. And he said he answers a lot of my questions and he doesn't just talk about it. He sits down and draws it in front of me while he explains it. That's awesome. Man, that's really cool. I never was the kind of person that could learn just by somebody telling me how to do something. I'm visual. I have to see it. You know?
Same here, yeah. Otherwise, it's not gonna retain.
I'm not gonna get it. I need some sort of visual cue to remember what it is I'm trying to be memorizing for the test or whatever. Like I never was very good at that. So I think that's good. I'm glad that you have a great teacher that helps you in that way. Paloma says, I'm visual too. I think it's safe to say everyone here is visual to some degree. We are all among kindred spirits at this time.
Yeah, all artists. Most of us are visual anyway. Sometimes it's like auditory for me. Like I have to hear something 1,000 times before it retains, but for the most part, I have to like see it.
I am the same way. Bernadette says, did you study caricature or fine arts? What was your subject of study?
Yeah, so I actually studied illustration with a concentration in concept art for animation and video games. So like with illustration, like with that sub part, we had a lot of character design and a lot of environment classes. And a lot of the like lessons were just all about personality and shapes. So I think that's also why I focus so much on like silhouettes and stuff. Because I need to know how an overall shape of something, you know, can be, or I guess I want to be able to break down stuff into geometric shapes and think like, you know, more critically that way. But yeah.
Awesome.
That was what I studied.
I went to the University of YouTube and then segued to a short but ongoing series of courses at the University of Adobe Live and Behance. This is where this is my creative instructional home, and I think that that's like it's kind of neat because like I feel like I love to see who went to school for what, who did not go to school, and what like how they actually made their way, because I think there's a lot of different people in the chat, people from all different kinds of walks of life that either don't have a school available to them or do have a school available to them or can't afford school or can or whatever, and it's always really cool how to see like how people kind of evolve and how where their journey takes them. So I'd like to know, folks in chat, did you go to school or are you self-taught? And what exactly did you guys study in school? Jack Watson says, oh my God, I love this. I'm so sad I missed most of the stream. I'm going to have to watch the replay. You should, and you should tune in tomorrow as well, because we will be back.
Yeah, we're going to be doing, well, should I spoil it or should I just like wait?
You can tell us, but if you'd like it to be a surprise, you can feel free to keep it a secret if you want.
Okay. I'm going to surprise y'all tomorrow, but it's another character design workshop. And it's going to be a character based on a very, very popular series. So
Ooh.
I'm excited.
Ooh. Sounds great. I wonder if I will know about this series because it sounds like we probably like similar stuff.
Yeah, getting that same vibe.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes.
But yeah, I'm just finishing up a couple of the details with, and he always had like his head shaved, either shaved or like really short and spiky. So I'm gonna add a couple of spikes, but
okay,
nothing too detailed.
Let's see. Key says school for 3D art for game design, a minor in fine arts. Awesome.
Nice.
Bernadette studied fine art. I don't think that fine art is irrelevant to digital art, honestly. I think maybe you're producing work differently, but I think that the information that you learn when it comes to light and form and figure and all those things are very important when it comes to also doing digital art, definitely. Let's see. Went to school for graphic design, and then a BFA in media arts and digital technology from Megan. Awesome.
Nice.
30 years ago, went to school for audio and video production, but I just finished an online course for graphic design earlier this year. Excellent. Hannah Dickens says, studied graphic design at University of Cincinnati, but learning how to merge illustration and design right now. That's awesome. Leanne says, studied photography and graphic design. I think you guys are at the end there kind of agreeing that, yeah, you can definitely transfer the fundamentals from fine art in traditional art over to digital art. I just hope that you don't sell yourself short, because if you're doing digital art right now and you've been doing traditional art, you went to school for digital art, the wealth of knowledge that you have about that is very, very valuable.
Yeah, there's always been like the debate, like which one is better, but like I feel like both of them kind of help each other and cancel each other out a little bit.
Yeah,
because there's like a lot of stuff that I learned in my painting classes that like I still try to apply now, especially like stuff about color, because I feel like you really can't truly understand color unless you start painting like traditionally. So yeah, both are awesome. I love both. My favorite traditional medium is gouache. Well, because it kind of
I've never
reminds
used
me.
gouache, but I've always wanted to.
Yeah, it's really awesome.
Less
frustrating than acrylic.
Yeah, and it's because I have used acrylic and I've used some oils before, and I do get like kind of meh about it, especially the acrylic, because I just don't know how it works. But every time I see somebody do gouache, I'm like, I think this is for me. I think it is. I just don't know how to. I just don't know how to do it, and I don't want to order a bunch of gouache and not know what I'm doing and then like ruin it. So
understandable. Also, paint is expensive, so I try to know what I'm doing before I buy something.
Yeah,
but you know.
Lena Gonzalez says, I studied graphic design and now work in UI UX. Awesome. Always wanted to get into illustration. Not sure on where to start. Well, feel free to ask some questions. Gareth says, about to start second year of a BSc in design and innovation with a focus on interfaces and interaction. Very cool. Let's see. Photography for compositing by myself. Awesome Fairy. Very cool. It's Fairy's sharing, it looks like some really great places to watch videos for training, which is neat.
Nice. I'm just gonna add, sometimes I also use the pen tool to like carve in like the line work. I just love the pen tool, y'all, as you can see.
I do, I see it.
But it just makes everything look a lot cleaner.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
It's looking great. Let's see. We got about maybe 14 minutes before it's time to take off.
Just gonna finish up his hands.
Bruce says, "Hi y'all, majored in commercial art, advertising, photography, and graphic design, but jumped into digital a year and a half ago, loving the Adobe Behance community." Awesome, Bruce. Very cool.
Yeah, Behance is one of my favorite platforms. This one and LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm. I'm not really much of a LinkedIn kind of gal, but I do really love Behance. Yeah, it's not so much that I don't like LinkedIn. It's just I'm very unfamiliar with it, so it makes me feel old. I get on there and I don't know where anything is, and I'm like, this is what my grandma feels like when she opens Facebook and doesn't know how to navigate to anything. This is the feeling right here, and then I log off.
It's okay, it'd be like that. I mainly just started going on there because just to start connecting with people in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone on there is like super nice. Like I never feel pressure to post on there. It's super easy to like meet people that actually end up helping you in the future. So
yeah, definitely.
Where it's at.
Make some friends, make some connections, and at least have people you can ask for advice and stuff, because gosh, that is such an awesome thing to be able to do when you're a little uncertain about something and you have a trusted person you can ask for advice on what you should do. That's let's see, can you explain how or what you use LinkedIn for? There's a slight delay on the stream, so what you just said might have answered that question for him.
Okay.
Let's see.
Can you hear me now?
Oh no, I mean there's a slight delay as far as like I can hear you, you sound fine, but from our setup here on the stream to them actually seeing it, there's about a 30-second delay always.
Gotcha.
So he's asked the question, but he probably hasn't gotten to the point in the stream where you just were talking about what you use it for. So ladies, are either of you Adobe certified? And if so, any insights on the process and the knowledge needed to pass? I have been working on studying for Adobe Photoshop certification. It is kind of a long process. Maybe another time I can post some links when I have the time to gather the links, but Adobe does actually have places where you can go and look and see how to take the exams to become certified. And it also, at least the last time I checked, had a lot of resources that you could look through for study materials and things like that. So yeah, but I would like to eventually do the certification process, but I know that it's pretty difficult. At least I've talked to people who have done it. Paul Tranny told me it was really difficult for him, and Paul Tranny's pretty amazing when it comes to Photoshop, so I'm like, oof, I'm gonna need to study.
Yeah, well, same here, because I am still very much a baby in this regard, so but yeah.
Let's see. Do you know Spencer Nugent? Yes, Spencer is great.
I don't think I do.
Spencer is one of these guys that just like sit down and just draw like anything, and he does like these cars, like specifically some of his cars and his vehicles are so outrageously good in perspective and like all this crazy stuff, and he has a really impressive ability to like bring something into 3D space really well, and it's just super cool. He does a good job.
Honestly, if you can draw cars, I respect you so much because I still struggle with that even to this day. But who's another person that I like to watch? one person who really helped me with animals. I don't know if anyone who knows who Aaron Blaze is. He's like one of the older Disney veterans, and he is amazing. He's done like a lot of work for Brother Bear, but he's really, really great to watch if you need like, I don't know, if you just want to like sit and relax and watch somebody draw animals. It's like the best thing ever. But
yes. This is I've seen some of this work before, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm so bad at names, but I never forget a piece of art if I've seen it before, and I never forget a face. So it's hard when people are like, "Do you know so and so?" And I'm like, "Never heard of him," and they're like, oh, "How do you not know?" And then I look at the art, and I'm like, "Oh, yes, I know this artist, definitely, of course, please, I promise."
I swear I'm cultured.
Yeah, gosh, some of these are like very loose illustrations, and then some of them are like so realistic and detailed that I'm just like, wow, this guy really knows what he's doing.
Yeah, they're really, really great with drawing animals. Very different from what I do, but still, like, if you need help with any like anatomy lessons and stuff like that, he's really awesome.
Yeah, this is awesome. I wonder if he has like a course online or something. He seems like somebody who would have a course.
Yeah, if anybody out there has like a schoolism that they want to recommend, please let me know, because I have been trying to take classes online for like environments and stuff like that, just just to brush up on my skills a little bit. So
I just got let me see. I just actually got a class that I have not taken yet. But I'm really excited to jump into it. I've got a lot of stuff that I gotta work on right now, but like I'm kind of waiting until I have some time. I'm doing a illustration course by Sori Kim right now on Domestika, and her art is just it's basically like creatures, characters, environments, and stuff. And really, really great ways to just kind of like visualize the form and all that good stuff easily and just go for it. So I'm really excited to kind of get farther into this, and I think it's going to be something that really helps me. But yeah, this is let me see, what is the title of it called? My courses. Daily Sketching for Creative Inspiration, a course by Sori Kim. So maybe I can actually send you guys this link if you want to check it out. There's a lot of different things that are available, and I haven't like sat down and illustrated, but I've watched several of the episodes, because if I'm too busy to actually sit down and put pen to paper, then I'll listen to it and then come back, listen to it again while I work. And this one has been actually really cool. So
nice. And then we only have like 12 minutes left, so I'm just going to add like a little bit of shading.
Yes, I would say more like maybe 6 minutes, because we are going to end just before the half hour. So I'm going to go till like 25 minutes.
Gotcha.
If anyone has any last minute questions or comments or things they would like to share with either of us, please do. This is your chance until we come back tomorrow. But if you folks are not eager to tick off from Adobe Live just yet, we do have a daily creative challenge coming up right after this. So please stay tuned, check that out. And then we're going to have some more awesome design segments coming up throughout the day. The Adobe Live day is not over. And we will both be back tomorrow at the same time, same bat place for episode 2. And it should be fun. So yeah, stick around and make sure you come back tomorrow to hang out. Gnomon School of Design. Yeah. I've actually done a handful of Gnomon courses.
How'd you like those?
I like them a lot. They have a lot of like, I think the ones that I did were, I did one on portraiture, and I did one on illustrating the female form. And I did it when I was like 14, I think. It was a while ago. And it like changed my whole life artistically, like how I was going to be illustrating and stuff, like just doing that one class. And I remember I begged my parents. I was like, I want this course so bad. And they were like, what do you mean a course? And I was like, I need this drawing course. And they were
A
like,
class.
okay, it's, yeah, I want. And they're like, is it for school? And I was like, no, I just want you to get me, please get me this drawing course. And they got it for me for my birthday.
Nice.
And I did it, and I've been drawing pretty fleeky gals ever since. So,
Her drawings are amazing. Oh my gosh.
well, thanks. I am a pretty big fan of yours
Thank
as
you.
well. So we can kind of fangirl at each other if you want.
But yes, so guys, I actually finished Kyle a lot faster than I thought I was going to. But yeah, these are all three of my music teachers. So we have Ken, Scott, and Kyle.
I love it. We do, honestly, this is a great time to wrap up though. We've got about 3.5 minutes left maybe. So why don't you let us know where we will be able to kind of preview this art and where we can follow you and keep a lookout for your future work on the net. I mean, where's the best place to connect with you?
Yeah, so I have my Instagram. So my Instagram @ is C.ILOE. And I also have my website, which is chiomailo.com.
Okay.
So I have like I have a short film that's coming out. I also have a bunch of projects happening with Think Junior right now.
Awesome.
And I have a lot of freelancing work that I'll be able to post soon. So yeah, stay tuned for that.
That's so cool, man. That's so neat. I assume that you can't tell us all the, the juicy details
The little
about all that
juicy
stuff.
deets. Yeah, unfortunately not right now, but in a couple months' time, yeah, we'll see all that Nick Jr. stuff.
Okay, cool.
But I do have a lot of personal projects coming up, so.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, I will keep an eye out for that. Again, I think we're getting these links going in the chat down here. Please follow these, the links to, there we go. There's the Instagram. Check Chioma out on Instagram. Check out her website. Check out all that good stuff. It also, let's see, we got, I think my link is in the description as well. So if you guys are interested to check out my portfolio as well, feel free. There's a lot of Star Wars in there, and I don't know if I mentioned Star Wars, but Star Wars is in there too, and some Star Wars. So if you like Star Wars, go check that out. And I think we are coming to a close. This has been really, really fun. This has been an absolute blast. Thank you so much for joining us, Chioma. Yeah. This has been wonderful.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you for making me comfortable, by the way, because this was my first live stream ever. So I was like, I'm really nervous, but yeah.
You were a natural. You really were. I'm sure everybody in the chat would agree. This has been super fun. Do you have any last parting advice or wisdom that you would like to bestow upon us before we take off? Or
yes, everybody take a break if you need it. Do not reach burnout. That was like my main tip for today.
Yes, I agree. Honestly, this is a great time for a break. We're coming to the end. There's going to be a handful of minutes before the next segment begins. So this is a good time to go grab some water, stretch your legs, come back feeling a little bit refreshed, and dive back into the next segment. But yeah, that is all the time we have for today. Thank you both. Or thank you. I don't want to say thank you both. Thank you both, the two of you, Chioma, for being here with me today. It's been really fun, and thank you everyone in the chat for joining. We will see you tomorrow. Please stay tuned for the Daily Creative Challenge. Adios, everybody.
Bye.